Good morning everybody, good morning, it's JPR and welcome back to another video. So some of you may have noticed last week that Suicune was trending and that all kinds of people were losing their minds over the preview for this week's Pokemon Journeys episode where Go appears to catch a Suicune in an effort to save it from Pokemon hunters. And yes, in case you don't keep up with the anime, it is very common for episode previews to spoil everything important that happens. I know, weird right? But of course, Go is not the first character to own a legendary Pokemon, so today we'll be taking a look through the core series Pokemon games as well as the anime to touch on every single character who has owned a legendary Pokemon. I would also do the manga too, but I'm still reading it and I don't want to spoil myself, so I'll probably do a video on that whenever I finish. I'm sorry manga fans, I don't mean to keep snubbing you. Also, we are about 3,000 subscribers away from the big 100k, so if you've enjoyed the content on this channel so far and you're not subscribed, make absolutely sure you do. According to YouTube analytics, 80% of my viewers aren't subscribed, so if even a small portion of you watching subscribe, it will go a very long way. Anyhow, I'd like to start this video off with some examples of characters who have commanded legendary Pokemon, but who haven't actually caught them. Giovanni was the very first character in the anime to control a legendary, that being the Mewtwo that escaped from the lab in the first movie. While Giovanni's control of Mewtwo is very short-lived though, he did later return in the Best Wishes series and use the Reveal Glass to control the forces of nature, Thundurus, Tornadus, and Landorus, all in their Therian forms. But just like Mewtwo, Giovanni never actually captured these Pokemon. Likewise, the Frontier Brain Noland battled against Ash using an Articuno, but it was actually a wild Articuno that Noland befriended, not a Pokemon that he had formally captured. Same goes for Professor Kukui, who was able to command the legendary Tapu Koko in the battle against Ash after the finals of the Alola League. Bonnie also traveled with, cared for, and temporarily commanded Zygarde in its 100% form, but never actually officially caught it. Not that she would be allowed to anyway. Speaking of Ash, he's in a bit of a gray area here. It all depends on whether or not you classify Ultra Beasts as legendary Pokemon. Since as far as official content goes, it's pretty much back and forth. As far as my understanding, they fall into the sub-legendary category, similar to mythical Pokemon, where they aren't actually legendary, but they have many of the same characteristics as legendary Pokemon. The reason I bring this up is because Ash did own a Poipole, which he later released, then it evolved off-screen into a Naganadel, which he then recaptured and then released a second time. Think of that what you will. He also had temporary ownership of other Ultra Beasts, Buzzwole, Stakataka, and Pheromosa, but those were all captured with the intent of relocating them to their homeworlds. Ash also was the one who raised Nevi into a Solgaleo in the anime, but never officially caught it in a Pokeball. He does own the mythical Pokemon Melmetal. No, he didn't release this one. It's close to legendary, but not quite. I just realized people who didn't watch the Sun and Moon anime are probably wondering what the heck happened down there. And in the 18th movie, Hoopa and the Clash of Ages, Ash commanded Latias, Latios, and a shiny Mega Rayquaza in battle. But of course he never actually caught these Pokemon. And lastly, we have characters from the games who either cared for or controlled legendary Pokemon at one point, but never formally caught them. Examples of this include Rose with Eternatus and Lily with Cosmog. Okay, now we can get into the characters who have officially captured legendary Pokemon. Let's keep going with the anime since we were already focusing on it. The first character in the anime who officially owned a legendary Pokemon was Brandon, the final Frontier Brain that Ash fought against, with him owning all three of the Regi trio. Well, used to be all three. You gotta wonder if he's gonna come back for the other two. He did return in Diamond and Pearl to look for Regigigas, so it's a possibility. Tobias would be the next character who would appear in the anime with ownership of a legendary Pokemon, of course having his very infamous Latios. Yeah, I know, you expect me to say Darkrai, but he's a mythical, you ain't fooling me! He possibly had even more that we just never got to see, though at the same time, it's very possible that those last four Pokemon were all Bidoof. Huh, maybe Ash was closer to winning the Sinnoh League than we thought. But wait, because there was another trainer who attempted to enter the Sinnoh League with a Heatran, but as far as we know, this guy either got eliminated early or just didn't make it in. Still, we salute and remember you here, nameless Heatran trainer. Your legacy will go on. Marcus, the antagonist of the 12th movie, also controlled a Heatran with special armor, but this was prior to the invention of Pokeballs and formally capturing Pokemon. Shortly after the conclusion of the Sinnoh League, another legendary trainer would make an unexpected appearance, Nurse Joy. No, I'm not kidding. In the second Diamond and Pearl side special episode, Brock's brother Forrest had to battle against a Nurse Joy from the Pokemon Inspection Agency, who was testing whether the pewter gym was up to standards to keep handing out gym badges. In this completely fair competition, Forrest Rhyperior had to go up against Nurse Joy's Latias. Now I know what you're thinking. How did I miss this episode? Did it actually even happen? The answer is yes, but sadly it was never dubbed into English or broadcasted outside Japan. It would be a while before the next trainer owning a legendary Pokemon would show up, but eventually Gladion with his sub-ally would appear in Sun and Moon. Yes, Silvally is a legendary, don't make me keep repeating it. Not much to say here though, since this basically played out almost the same way as it did in the Sun and Moon games. And as we detailed earlier, Ash's new companion Go is an official owner of legendary Pokemon. Now, the Suicune episode will have just aired in Japan as of me uploading this video, but regardless of whether Go caught that Suicune or if we all just got mega bamboozled, it doesn't matter because Go already caught Eternatus in the earlier Darkest Day arc. And he's been doing this with single Pokeball catches nonetheless. Move aside, Dream, your luck has been triumphed. And with that, we've covered every trainer from the Pokemon anime who has captured a legendary Pokemon. Surprisingly, it's a very exclusive list despite the anime consisting of more than 1,100 episodes. But since I probably won't be making another video on mythical trainers, let's give a quick shout out to Ash with his Melmetal, the Iron Mask Marauder who temporarily caught Celebi, Tobias again with his Darkrai, and while it's unknown if he ever formally captured it, Dia from the Ultra Ruin alternate universe travels with and commands a Zeraora. These 4 are your only mythical trainers, which actually makes them an even more exclusive group than the legendary trainers. Moving on to the core games, I won't really be touching on the game protagonists because you, as the protagonist, can capture as many or as few legendary Pokemon as you desire. One of the ones we know for sure is Red, who captured Articuno, Zapdos, Moltres, and Mewtwo in Pokemon Origins. I count this more as games than anime since Origins is almost exclusively an adaptation of the original Gen 1 games, although you could say Hilbert or Hilda canonically own Zekrom or Reshiram since the game forces you to re-battle them in End's Castle until you finally catch them, unless you have completely filled your PC box. To further drive this home, Hilbert appears in Pokemon Generations with his Zekrom in episode 15, The King Returns. Again, while this is an animation, it is clearly happening within the world of the games, even though Hilbert isn't actually supposed to be there. Okay, a variation of the game's universe, if you will. Likewise, May or Brendan must catch Rayquaza in the Delta episode of Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire. This is also shown in Pokemon Generations in addition to them capturing Deoxys, though that part isn't required in the games. And lastly, Victor/Gloria must catch Eternatus to progress the story in Sword and Shield. Although Giovanni never caught Mewtwo in the anime, he did eventually claim ownership of one in Pokemon Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon, with both of its Megastones to boot. And don't worry, because he brought Archie with Kyogre, Maxie with Groudon, Cyrus with Dialga or Palkia, Ghetsis with Zekrom or Reshiram, and Lysander with Xerneas or Yveltal with him. Although these characters never owned these legendary Pokemon in the universes we're familiar with, we know now that there are timelines where they succeeded with their evil schemes and captured those legendary Pokemon, presumably dooming those universes to incredibly awful fates. It kinda sucks when you think about it. The first characters who owned legendary Pokemon that you could actually fight against in-game were a select group of Emerald Frontier Brains, though. Noland once again makes the cut as he can randomly have access to Articuno, Zapdos, Moltres, Raikou, Entei, Suicune, Regirock, Regice, Registeel, Latios, and Latias. Although it's a bit ambiguous as to whether or not he actually caught these Pokemon or is just renting them out from the Battle Factory as everyone does. The Dome Ace Tucker also wields a Latias on his team in the Gold Symbol Challenge. Palace Maven Spencer will use a Suicune in the Gold Symbol Challenge. Brandon will also make the cut in the games as he wields his classic Reggie Trio in the Silver Symbol Challenge, and later uses the legendary Birds in the Gold Symbol Challenge. Which leads us to the only other Frontier Brain from Gen 3 to use legendaries in both challenges, Annabelle. She'll use Entei in the Silver Challenge, and Raikou and Latios in the Gold Challenge. All 3 of these legendary Pokemon can also reappear on her team in Sun and Moon's Battle Tree. Moving on to the Gen 4 Frontier Brains, Palmer will use Regigigas, Heatran, and Cresselia in his second battle. Thornton, as a factory head like Noland before him, has access to all unbanned legendary Pokemon as of Gen 4. Hall Matron Argenta can do the exact same. Arcade Star Dahlia will use a Zapdos in her second battle. Castle Valet Dirac also has access to an Entei in his second battle. And the Battle Chatelaines from the Gen 6 games will also all use legendary Pokemon in their second battles. Okay, most of that should have just been a review for those of you who watched the How Rare is Every Legendary Pokemon video. Study your flashcards because the test is on Monday. And no, there will not be a curve. We already touched on Gladion and his Silvally, so we can skip right over him and go on to Hop, who of course catches either Zacian or Zamazenta in the post-game of Sword and Shield, and fulfills a similar role in Black and White, catching the opposite legendary dragon to the player. Most media usually portrays N with Reshiram, but a notable exception to this is in Pokemon Masters, where N teams up with Zekrom instead. However, I should note that it is not a requirement for a trainer to catch the Pokemon they are teamed up with in their sync pair. While characters like N, Giovanni, and Gloria clearly own their legendary Pokemon, other characters such as Silver and Zinnia do not actually own the legendary Pokemon that they are teamed up with. Cyrus is a little bit more ambiguous since he and Palkia just kind of plop out of space and time in the middle of Pasio. But as we've discussed before, Master's canonicity is quite questionable, so these shouldn't be looked too far into. At the very least, in the future, Hop could have Zamazenta and Victor could have Eternatus, and it wouldn't necessarily break with the core games. Also in Gen 5, Alder's grandson Banga, who is essentially the final super boss of Black 2 and White 2, will challenge the player with either Latias or Latios on his team, depending on the version you're playing. The 5 stat trainers from Diamond and Pearl that you team up with, Riley, Cheryl, Buck, Marley, and Mira, good god, we're just giving these things away to children now, can also use a wide array of legendary Pokemon as your teammates in the Sinnoh Battle Frontier. Professor Sycamore's assistant Dexio will battle the player with his own 10% Zygarde on Route 16 Pokemon Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon, though after the battle he will gift it to the player, allowing them to use it as the basis for their own Zygarde creations. And the most recent character in the core games to own a legendary Pokemon is none other than Mustard with his Cubfu, which will later become a Gigantamax Urshifu. So in total, these 35 trainers have all captured or used legendary Pokemon in some canon related to the games. I don't know about you guys, but I kinda liked the anime group better. It was a lot smaller. So adding them to the mix, but subtracting Brandon and Gladion, who are the only 2 characters to own legendary Pokemon in both the games and anime, we total 38 characters who have owned legendary Pokemon. Wait a minute, we must be missing one. Oh, by God, it's Ray Rizzo and his Cresselia, who appeared in the Pokemon World Tournament in Black 2 and White 2. He's a video game character, guys! How can I forget about Ray Rizzo? Well, anyhow, if you're not Ray Rizzo and you enjoyed this video, be sure you hit that like button, and again, make sure you subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. That's it from me. I'll see you guys next time.